Hey team, thanks for joining the call. Got a really interesting question. Working with a client right now, sales is a little stagnant, and one of the first things that sales reps kind of ask for, or sales ask for, is I need more content, I need more materials, I need more stuff to hand out, I need more leads. And so we're kind of going from a slow, not much content to a blast of material and content to kind of overwhelm the market. But marketing's pushing back. And I just want to kind of hear y'all's feedback on why they would push back because I know it's for a good cause, and but sales is always what I want it now, now, now. So I just want to kind of talk that out with you so I can kind of advise the client to kind of
Mhm.
listen more instead of dictate.
Yeah, I think that's
So
really
open up to
common.
the floor.
All right. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I really think that's quite common. There's a trending topic or there's something exciting that comes up as a business opportunity, and the team gets excited and they want to create new assets or materials to support that topic and engage in a conversation. But I think from a marketing perspective, where I go is the importance of strategic planning and sticking to that plan for a couple different reasons. Hey, we always leave a little bit of room to be agile so that we can move around and flex and shift. But when we really take the time to plan our content ahead, we can be sure that it's consistent, it's efficient, and it's on brand. Really, overall, making sure that our investment into content is achieving those longer term goals that we all set out to achieve and move forward on.
What about the need for? It sounds like what's happening, Derek, is there's a campaign element, right? They want to do a blitz. Um, are there are there downsides from going from? I'll use the like a spigot analogy. It sounds like they've been dripping water
Mm-hmm.
and they just want to turn this thing on full tilt.
Yeah, it's kind
Um,
of like throwing wet
you
spaghetti against a
know,
wall. There's not much strategy. It's like let's just overwhelm the
Yeah.
market with this.
I mean, while content can get created in mass volume, is there what's the downside in your guys' perspective? Ashley and Kristen, from that regard.
One that jumps out at me right away, Greg, is just maintaining audience engagement. I think there's a lot of data and studies out there to prove that regular, consistent content delivered at a pace that is reliable creates repeat behavior and engagements from end users. So I would go there immediately that it's well timed and consistent is proven to be more effective than blasting and never talking about it again and turning your head and kind of always moving and changing what your focus is.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I mean, thinking about the social platforms that are king right now, right? So your Instagrams, your TikToks, your Facebooks, LinkedIn's, etc. All of them have specific algorithms that incentivize consistent posting. So if you're going from a cadence of posting once a week and then next thing you know you're blasting to 5 times a week, it may take time for that algorithm to adjust and put your content out in front of your respective audience or whatever the respective platforms, whatever, however they push the content out. So on one end, you may think, that's great. We're giving ourselves more opportunities to get our content in front of our audiences, whether it's our existing audience or prospective audience. But at the same time, not every platform treats content the same. So while you may think, I've invested however much time in this and I'm going to push it out, you may be looking, whatever that respective social media platform is, may not push your content out immediately. I mean, I've heard of and even experienced TikTok where sometimes you may post something and it holds it for about an hour or two, sometimes longer, and you go back and check and you don't have any views. But it's not necessarily anything you've done wrong. It's just how the algorithm is treating the content that you're feeding. So on one end, you may think, well, let me just keep posting. But then if that's not what you or what the platform thinks that you have done, they may treat you as spam. So then your content may get shadow banned so there's a lot of other considerations you need to take or other things you need to consider when thinking about possibly spamming or,
Yeah.
turning on that water faucet and, increasing the amount of content you're pushing out in a given period.
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Right.
how would, in your experience, how have you tempered the enthusiasm or saying, okay, we can do this, but how would you tactfully message that and just saying no, 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 or we'll think about it, even though you know you're not going to think about it?
I
You
mean, one
know
of
us sales
the,
guys.
yeah, no, I hear you. I think one of the things that I go back to is a passionate brand gal is the unified sort of brand experience, the reinforcement of the values, the all alignment for the entire team to be marching towards the goals that we want to achieve. I think that, by educating with some of these things like optimal reach frequency, or Ashley hit on it, some of the realities of dealing with the social networks and how they organize and distribute content can really help empower the sales team to know that planning ahead is actually going to work in their favor and can be a lot more powerful in the long run. So that, hey, we hear you, let's add it to the list, let's research it, let's find out how we can integrate it, but that's so it's in alignment with our campaigns, our brand, our core values, our message, and our overall objectives.
It almost sounds like to me, what I'm hearing from you guys is it's not a no. It's that the reality is it's not as simple as a light switch, right? So more content doesn't result in more leads. More ads don't result in those things. You've talked about social media. I'm curious, like email, blogs, search, are they all in a similar cadence where the algorithm is going to dictate the future success? Like you can't just put out more blogs and all of a sudden your SEO is going to be better. Is it truly, um, out of control, I guess is the right word, right? Where sales is like, I can dial as many people as I can dial. From the marketing perspective, there's a lot of throttles that are in place on the marketing side that control your ability to change your ranking. Is that fair? Or am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my perspective, you're playing in someone else's sandbox. So the rules change and you have competition to take in mind at all points. So it's not as easy as a, turn it on type of thing. There's a lot of different factors that I've experienced.
That's an interesting analogy, Kristen, and I think that's really, really insightful. The idea of each one of these verticals is its own sandbox. And at the end of the day, there are different rules in different places. So when you're talking about social media, like Ashley was, we're in this place of it's about consistently increasing your cadence, not going from 1 to 5, but maybe 1 to 3 or 1 to 2, and then 2 to 4, and then 4 to 5 to really let the algorithm have the time to see the engagement within your content. Because I have a feeling that if they're not engaging in the increase of content that you put out there, it doesn't really help anyways, right? The algorithm is actually going to knock you more than it's going to help you if you start putting out more content, but people engage with it less. Similar would be true on blogs, on search engines, and organic work. That can take weeks and even months for the engines to crawl. And then you mentioned spam as well. Ashley, the idea of, you know, email filters and things starting to discount that. And so at the end of the day, what I hear you saying, Kristen, from a strategic perspective, it's not a no, it's a how do I add and support your need sales team without almost, you know, tripping over tripwires along the way that actually negatively impact the next round of effort that we're going to roll out. So while we can do something today, it can actually have a long-term impact that you have to unwind related to each one of those sandboxes. Am I understanding kind of the entire dynamic correctly? Derek, does that help?
No, it does help. Whether they listen or not, that's another story, but it does help.
No, I think that's a valuable thing to be teaching if you're a marketer,
Yeah.
right? Is the and I don't know if we have something, but maybe that's something we can build team, is some sort of little visual guide of the time of impact to making a change in your cadence. So we can talk about that offline, but the idea of a little bit of a visual to help people understand that you can't just run down the hallway and flip all the switches and be like, all right, let's put all this content out. Let's, we have to, it's almost a dimmer switch versus a light switch. And the idea is it's important how hard you turn that on. So awesome. That was super insightful. Thanks guys for sharing.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you for hopping on, everybody. I know you are busy, so thank you very much.